Widowmaker is in a really interesting spot in the Overwatch community right now. One of the reasons is of course her one-shot potential, but why is she so interesting to bring up? I'd say there's a very split opinion about her right now, and I mean way more than before. Some says that Widowmaker is way too strong, while another feels like she's in a really poor position, but others that main her wish to see some small tweaks. And what are these sides talking about? Let's break it down. We all know that all the heroes with one-shot potential is strong with the right hands, and there's no reason to deny that. No matter what game you play, if a gun can one-shot, the balancing is gonna be way harder than without. But there's a good reason why these guns/heroes are in the game, and the main reason is that it brings a big player base that would probably not play otherwise. And yeah, I'm kinda guilty to be a part of that gang. Now, these players won't necessarily only play one-shot heroes, but they would be more likely to give the game a chance than not. And if you want the game to stay alive, I think that's a pretty good reason to keep them in the game. So yeah, I don't believe that the one-shot heroes will be gone, but I believe as they've been showing in the recent patches, balancing the one-shot heroes more aggressively, which I'd rather have than removing it from the game entirely. And yes, I am biased. And with that, it brings us to the next part of the cake, and that is the people who think Widowmaker is bad. This one is interesting because there's more in depth in this question or view that I was actually been expecting. So my question here is, when you look at a Widowmaker in game, what do you look at? Are you looking at the damage dealt or the eliminations? You have no idea how many who comments on a Widowmaker that has less damage than the other soldier or a tank, while the Widowmaker goes around with a 20 final blows and 26 elims. And something to keep in mind is that the Widowmaker's job is not the same as the soldiers. I mean, sure, both are looking to get picks, but both have different roles to fill out. Soldier has a pressure with damage that forces the enemy to not run over the allied team, while Widowmaker's job is to make sure that the allied team are always one or more up than the enemy's team. Though if the overall allied team has a hard time to give space or pressure, the harder it is for a Widowmaker to fulfill their role. And another aspect of why some player base believe that Widowmaker is bad is just plainly after the nerfs, they weren't as great of a Widowmaker player as they would believe to be. And that might come out as harsh, but that would probably be true. Widowmaker is a monster in lower ranks, and there's no denying that. If you know how to trag with Widowmaker, you'd have no problem to basically take out 3 to 4 players up to probably platinum before that consistency drops down to maybe 2 or 3. And after you hit diamond, you probably notice a big difference in every player's movement, which would make them a lot harder to predict, which also makes it harder for you to get a pick. So if you are a Widowmaker that has a hard time in gold, I'm sorry to break it down for you, but you can definitely get better with the aim and positioning. Most likely the issue you're having would probably be the positioning. And do not worry, I'm actually working on an aim technique video about this specific topic. And now we are on my favorite topics because I am on this opinion myself. And yes, as I said before, I am biased. Widowmaker doesn't really need any damage buff, and actually I am pretty confident that most Widowmaker mains doesn't complain too much about her range nerf she's gotten. The issue that most has is that basically any hero with agility or dive can burst Widowmaker so fast that she has no time to react. Basically, her HP versus the dive makes her a really easy target. Most Widowmaker mains that I've seen or talked to wish to see her HP go back up to 200 and let everything else be, which I do agree on. The thing is that Widowmaker has no counterplay against basically any dive heroes. The hook is just way too slow to pull her away, even if she has reacted extremely fast to the dive. Now, I do get that most people would probably say, yes, that's what you get for playing a one-shot character. My argument would probably be, well, yeah, but if we compare other very strong two-shot heroes like Ashe or even one-shot hero Hanzo, has some type of utility that can instantly make them move to one direction that throws them off guard. Even their range/close range styled weapon is pretty strong compared to Widowmakers, and I believe that the majority of the general player base do not want to see a Widowmaker's spray to get buffed. So why would an increase of 25 HP be such of a bad buff? Well, you tell me.